Okay, picture this for a second. A high school kid, maybe the most famous high school athlete ever.
Right.
And imagine if they could actually cash in on that fame, like right then and there, while still in school.
Yeah. That's a really interesting what if, especially when you think about someone like LeBron James. His high school story was already so unique.
Exactly. So today, that's what we're going to dive deep into. LeBron's own thoughts, actually, on what his time at St. Vincent-St. Mary might have looked like if name, image, and likeness rules existed back then. NIL.
Right. The rules is letting athletes, college, and now some high schoolers make money from endorsements and things like that. It wasn't around the early 2000s,
Not
obviously.
at all. So we'll be digging into what LeBron said recently on the Pat McAfee Show, and also looking at some analysis that explores this whole hypothetical.
Yeah, and the goal here isn't just like fantasy sports history. It's more about understanding what this huge shift with NIL means for young athletes today, using LeBron as this kind of historical test case.
And we really need to set the scene for his high school fame. It wasn't just, the local paper talking about him. It was wild.
Oh, completely.
I mean, ESPN was televising his high school games. Think about that back then.
Totally unheard of.
You had Nike and Adidas basically in a bidding war for a teenager,
The sneaker wars, yeah.
his games,
Mm.
selling out actual NBA-size arenas. People were buying his high school jersey nationally.
Uh-huh. It was a bestseller.
Even the way his team traveled. It was like a major college program already. The
Yeah.
level of attention was just, well, unprecedented for a high school player.
It really was something else.
Yeah.
That kind of national spotlight,
Mhm.
the commercial interest, it was just focused so intensely on one kid still in high school. Pretty remarkable.
Which brings us right to what LeBron himself said about NIL. He put it really plainly. If NIL was around when I was in high school, I would have loaded up.
Uh-huh. Yeah, loaded up. Pretty clear statement, isn't it?
Super clear. So when you hear that, what jumps out to you? What are the immediate sort of implications of that, thinking about the rule changes?
Well, first off, it just hammers home the point that he already had immense market value, even as a teenager.
Yeah.
Loaded up means he knew there were huge financial opportunities just sitting there, completely blocked by the rules back then.
Right.
But maybe more broadly, um, it signals this fundamental shift in how we even think about young athletes, right? And their like economic power or agency.
Absolutely. And the analysis we looked at tries to put a number on it, suggesting maybe 7 figures a year back in high school.
Yeah, that's the figure being thrown around, 7 figures for a high school kid.
It just sounds kind of crazy when you think about the early 2000s sports world. Back then, it was all about those amateurism rules.
Exactly. Those rules were designed specifically to prevent athletes, especially young ones, from profiting directly off their talent. Keep it pure, supposedly.
So yeah, the contrast is just stark. What NIL allows now is the exact thing the old system was built to forbid. A high schooler earning endorsement money. That wasn't just unlikely, it was actively against the rules.
Makes you think.
And, to make this feel less like ancient history, we see it actually happening now. The text we read mentioned kids like AJ DeBansa.
Uh-huh. The basketball player.
Yeah, he's got a deal with Red Bull. And Kean Anthony, Carmelo's son, he has a deal with PSD Underwear, both still in high school.
Right.
These deals are becoming, well, not common everywhere, but definitely happening in states where high school NIL is allowed. It gives you a taste of what could have been just the tip of the iceberg for LeBron.
Oh, absolutely. For someone with LeBron's profile back then, we wouldn't just be talking Red Bull or underwear deals, probably. It'd be major national brands, you'd imagine.
Yeah, the potential was massive.
Which, raises another question. How would that kind of early money, how might that have changed his path, his development maybe, as a player, as a person?
It's definitely something to ponder, and it kind of makes you think about those controversies that did happen, even without NIL, like that infamous jersey incident.
Oh, yeah, the throwback jerseys.
Right, the text mentions it. The Ohio High School Athletic Association, the OHSAA, they actually ruled him ineligible for a bit, didn't they? For accepting 2 jerseys worth, like $845?
Yeah, something like that. And what's so wild is thinking about that exact situation today with NIL.
Totally different outcome.
Completely.
Right.
What was this big violation of amateurism leading to a suspension? Now, it could easily be spun as a positive endorsement story.
Right, like local star partners with vintage clothing store.
Exactly. Instead of scandal, it's just marketing. A brand partnership shows how much the perspective has shifted.
It really does flip the script. And LeBron himself, he's talked about this wider issue about athletes getting compensated, hasn't he?
He has. He talks about the value athletes create, the brands they build just by being great. and, all the money they generate for companies, for schools.
And his basic point is kind of, hey, if the companies and schools are benefiting, why shouldn't the players?
Yeah. And that question has so much more weight coming from him, someone who lived through having astronomical market value, but couldn't touch any of it directly because of the rules.
His perspective there is just, it's grounded in that real experience. He saw firsthand how his talent was this huge economic engine, but the system locked him out from actually participating in that economy. It really highlights the imbalance NIL is, well, trying to fix.
Definitely. It's a powerful example.
So where are we now with NIL in high schools? It's not everywhere yet, right?
No, not at all. The text mentioned it's allowed in states like California, Texas, New York,
Yeah.
some of the big ones. But then you've got other states, like Georgia, Illinois was mentioned, where there are still restrictions.
So it's this patchwork system right now.
Exactly, which
Right.
creates this, kind of uneven playing field. You've got kids in one state who can build a brand, maybe make some serious money from their hard work and talent.
Well, kids just across the state line might face the same old restrictions LeBron did.
Right. It just shows this is still very much an evolving situation, lots of debate still happening around these policies.
So when we kind of zoom out and look at the whole picture, the big takeaway seems to be, well, the value was always there, right? These super talented young athletes always had this potential value.
Yeah, NIL didn't invent the value.
It just sort of unlocked the door for the athletes themselves to actually get a piece of it. The text basically concludes that LeBron James, with that crazy high school fame and all the buzz, he would have been the perfect blueprint for high school NIL success, if only the rules were different back in 2002.
That's a great way to put it. He was like the prototype, all that media, the commercial interest.
Yeah.
It was basically a preview of what the NIL world could look like, just happening before the rules caught up.
He really was like a superstar, just waiting for the system to change.
Mm-hmm.
So wrapping up this deep dive then, thinking about LeBron's hypothetical really highlights just how massive this NIL shift is for high school sports. We've gone from a place where getting a couple of free jerseys could get you suspended
Right, potential penalties.
to a place where kids might be navigating 6 or even 7-figure deals before they even graduate high school. It's a profound change.
It really is. And that leads me to a final thought, maybe something for our listeners to chew on.
Okay.
When you consider LeBron's whole journey, and you see how fast this NIL landscape is changing right now, what do you think the long-term effects might be? Both the good stuff and maybe the trickier aspects. For the next generation of high school athletes coming up, like what new challenges or ethical questions or maybe even completely new kinds of opportunities might pop up as this whole thing keeps unfolding?
Wow, yeah. That's a big question to leave people with. How this whole fundamental change really reshapes youth sports and these kids' lives in ways we probably can't even fully predict yet. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for digging into this one with me.
Thanks for tuning in as we break down the game, the deals, and all things name, image, likeness. Don't forget, this podcast is brought to you by Student Baller, your go-to resource for boosting your NIL game. Make sure to check out their exclusive NIL launch kit and brand kit and join the Student Baller family to unlock opportunities that could change your life. And hey, if you found value in today's episode, show us some love. Hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and share this podcast with your squad. Let's build this NIL community together. Powered by StudentBaller.com. One call Student Ball.